Thanks for coming today. I'm Julie Ryland with the Department of Permits, Licenses, Inspections. I'm the Community Affairs Officer. Also, my title is Government and Public Relations Liaison. So I'll be talking to you today about all of our new online tools that we have out there to help you. One of the policy goals of this administration is to get more data out there and better customer service. So I'm going to show you the ways that we've been working on that and how you can use them to, help you through your projects and what's going on in your neighborhood. So I'm going to be going back and forth between the website and my PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to talk about 5 different types of online tools today. We're going to talk about our improved contacts, condemned buildings and demolition lists, our permit review tools, Building Eye, just a brief overview of what Building Eye is, and all of the community outreach tools. So first, these are real simple, but have helped out our department as well as customers quite a bit. So we have email addresses. In the past, I know it's been difficult, and even probably now, to get people on the phone at our department. And we don't have one particular person whose job it is to answer the phone. They're doing other duties that they are away from their desk. So we're like, how can we make this easier for people? So the first one is PLI App Tech at pittsburghpa.gov, and that's PLIAPPTECH. And this goes to 6 of our application technicians. These are the folks that take the permits. They know what kind of stuff you need to submit your permit. So any of those kinds of questions, we would ask that you send it to this email address, and they are pretty quick on it. As soon as they have some downtime, they're checking that email address. The zoning department has their own set of rules and their own folks answering questions. You can reach the zoning department by email as well. I'm pretty sure it's zoning@pittsburghpa.gov. But we would just stick to permits for PLI and also licenses. So if you have license questions, you can also send to this email address. And if you are expecting a certain thing to happen with your permit and that's not happening, this email address also can answer those questions as well. Do I need a permit for? What documents do I need for my general contractor's license? How do I apply for a permit? And the second email address is PLI Records at pittsburghpa.gov. And this is also a group email address. It's answered by 3 of our clerical staff that also answer our mainline phone. And I'm on this as well. So if something's getting lost in the mix with them, I'll jump in and answer questions too. So this is more so you used to have to come down to our office to get copies of occupancy permits. And now this is the email address that you would send a request form to get an occupancy permit, get a copy of it. Eventually, we'd like these permits just to be online and people can just download them themselves and print them out and do whatever they want with them. But until that point, this is the email address. We'll scan it, send it to you digitally. And also this email address is good for if you're doing property maintenance violations and you have questions about that, you can send an email to this address. If somebody wants to report a code violation at a property, we suggest you call 311 first. But if you're not getting the results that you were expecting or there's no updates or something like that, you can definitely send it to this email address as well. If you get a letter of violation in the mail, we ask that you contact the inspector. They're your #1 person to get in touch with. They might not call you back right away, but they'll call you back. If they don't, then you can definitely email this email address. But they've been out there, they know what's going on at the property, they're your best source of information. And we can look at a computer and kind of give you what's going on generally, but we can't get specific about it. So when would you email this email address? Say you're renting a space for a small business and you want to know if that building can house your type of business. If the proper occupancy doesn't exist, you might have to go through expensive renovations to change the use of the property. So checking to make sure a space is occed properly is like your #1 step when you're renting a space. Or if you're buying a property and it's a 3-unit and you want to make sure it's a legal 3-unit before you buy it, this is the best way to do it. Okay, so moving on to condemned buildings and demolition. So we wanted a way to let all the neighbors know what's going on in their neighborhood, so they're not surprised, when the building's coming down next to them. We used to have no notification process on when that was happening. So we developed placards, which our assistant director, Mark Mariani, gave a presentation about specifics about our demolition process, so I'm not going to go into that today, but just kind of how to use the lists that we've put up. So if you're interested in that, just go on our website and watch that video. But so we have a list of all of our condemned properties. There's like about 800 on there. So you'll know which properties are condemned. That doesn't mean they're going to be demolished, but we did start to put up other lists if it's under, so we have to do asbestos surveys now before we demolish a property. So we figured, hey, why not let people know that these properties are now being tested for asbestos and they're going to be demolished soon. So even letting you know further in advance when these properties are coming down. So I'm going to go to the website here. And this is just our main page, which is pittsburghpa.gov/pli/pli.html. Okay, you'll go down and see all of our buttons. Towards the bottom of the page, there's a condemned buildings button. So it'll take you to condemned property. And you can see this is where our last community forum about demolition is posted there, and you can watch that video. And it explains the reasons why a building would be condemned. And then this third tab here, condemned, under contract, and raised properties. So here is 4 different spreadsheets. And the first one being the condemned buildings. And the second one is asbestos surveys. So this is our new list. But so we put properties out in bid packages of 25. So this will be in chunks of 25 properties. You'll see we have, I think, 4 lists up right now. And it'll have different statuses. So one is, I think the first list has already gone through asbestos and they're under contract at this point. And the second list, it'll say, pending asbestos survey on this date. It'll start giving you dates and whatnot. So that's really our guideline. The properties were taken down for the next 6 months. So that'll be on there. And once they're under contract, once we put them out the bid and contractors select them for a job, they'll go to the under contract list. And then once they're taken down, they'll be on the raised list. Okay, so here you can see package 1, it's under contract to be raised. So those are the next properties were taken down. So then package 2, the asbestos survey, it says awarded waiting demo bid opening. So the asbestos surveys already happened. We're just waiting to put the properties out for bid for demolition. We haven't taken down any properties for like a year. Because we were rewriting the contract to be more environmentally friendly and just a lot of different standards we wanted to change. So we haven't done it for a year. So now at this point, we're really just taking down properties that caught on fire, some that are collapsing already. So it's really like we've made a priority list and taking the worst of the worst. We just hired 2 new demolition inspectors. And so they're really going out and reevaluating all of our structures, kind of giving it, the worst of the worst, put those first. But also, I keep track of like community requests for demolitions. So we definitely want to know which ones are public safety hazard, people are living in that shouldn't be, those types of things. We want to know, because we just see condemned property like it is all over the city. So I want to know which ones are the worst, and then we'll prioritize those ones depending on how bad other structures are. So at the end, I'll have my contact information, and you can just email me those kinds of things. So what kind of questions can this answer? I would like to know what buildings will be demolished in my neighborhood in the next 6 months. Is that vacant and unsecured building on my block condemned? The city is going to tear down my neighbor's house. When should the contractor start? So that is actually on one of those lists. It tells you it's not the asbestos list, it's the under contract list. And that'll tell you the deadline that the contractor has to tear that building down. So it's 60 days from the date of start of the contract. So next is permit review tools. So we know there was a lot of problems, especially at the beginning of last year, of people not knowing what to expect when they submit a permit. The standards previously were, it didn't matter, anything went, and so we wanted to make that easier. We're going to be more strict now, and this is what we're expecting from you. So Dave Green, our permitting supervisor, put together this permits pending review list. It's updated every single week, and it takes all the permits that are submitted and puts them in order, first come, first serve, and that's exactly the list that our plans examiners pull permits from to review. So it gives you an expected review date. It's not the date that it will be reviewed, but that's expected. So we're meeting that deadline. We're actually exceeding it right now for residential. So I know there was a lot of pain points last year, but the process is finally working. We have enough people to pick up that slack, and we're processing permits faster and more accurately and better and safer. We actually wanted to make it very prominent on our website. What's the status of my permit is one of the widgets on there. And there we have the permits pending review list. So it is an Excel spreadsheet. You can download it and know when your permit's going to get reviewed. So what kind of questions does this answer? I submitted my permit 2 weeks ago. When will it be reviewed? Okay, some other permit review tools that we've put out there, permit checklists. So this is we're adding more and more for every single type of permit. And so we have, I think, like 4 different checklists out there right now. These are the exact checklists that our plans examiners use to review plans. So as you're doing your drawing, just submitting your permit, make sure you're reviewing that checklist to make sure you have all the documents that we're going to request. If you don't, it's going to delay your permit. We're going to ask for revisions. That's another 15 days that you have to wait after you resubmit them. So it's best to review these lists ahead of time. And that is located, if you go on our main page, one of the buttons down here in the corner is PLI Bulletins. And this is updated all the time. This is one of your best pages to look at for permits. You could see procedures that we try and put out there if we're changing something or it's different than it was in the past. And informational, that's where the permit checklists are going to be. So you can see commercial plan review checklist, see residential building permit plan review checklist. And also code interpretations are on this page. So if the UCC is a little vague, then we'll put out a code interpretation. This is how the city of Pittsburgh is going to interpret this code, and this is where we'll put it. This can answer, I'm unsure if I need to submit this documentation with my permit application. I have an electrical component to my project. What are the current permitting inspection procedures? The UCC is vague. What is City of Pittsburgh's interpretation? Okay, so Building Eye, how many of you use Building Eye? Good, great. Okay, so it's an interactive map. It has all of our permits from 2013 on there, any code violations since October of 2015, any active location-based licenses, it's like bed and breakfasts or parking lots, and planning applications since the beginning of 2016. So this is pittsburghpa.buildingeye.com/building. So I'll just bring it up. If you go to our website, this is also on our main page. What's the status of my permit? Building Eye. And you can click the link there as well. All those little dots are all of our building permits. Green means it's completed, blue means it's in some active status. So you can do different filters and searches. You can search by the building permit number, when it was submitted, different permit types. So Building Eye is a company out of San Francisco, and they tap into the back end of our system directly. So they get that nightly updated. It should be the next day. So let's see. So when you click on the dot, All this information comes up on the right-hand side, gives you the address, the permit number, the permit type, the date it was received, the kind of work, and where it's at in our workflow. So you can see down here it says PLI process. So this particular type of permit, electrical permit, just comes to PLI offices. It starts in our office. Most other permits start at the zoning office. So they are a separate department, separate process. So we'll have on there zoning process, and I'll show you the steps you're at in their process and when that's completed. And then I'll start again with the PLI process and kind of go through the different steps as well. So you might see two different things on there, and so you can see it goes from like when it's submitted to when it's approved to when it's issued, and then final and completed. So yes, if you expect your permit to be completed and it doesn't say completed, there's some step in the process that hasn't happened yet. So. And we've also recently put a link down at the bottom for parcel details, and that links you to the Allegheny County website directly to that property there. So. Then we also have the enforcement tab. Same thing, dots, green dots mean that it's closed out, blue dots mean it's somewhere in the process still. Okay, so it gives you the address, the case number, and this is not the 311 number. This is like an internal number for us, so don't confuse the two. The status, this one's still open and was sent to court. And then usually, so if there was a court date, it would have the dates it went to court right under that. It has the violation, the dates our inspectors went out to inspect it, what happened when that inspection occurred, what the property owner has to do to correct the problem. So all of that is on there as well. You can search up here and filter, the same as with the permits. There are benefits to creating an account, so you can create alerts. So if you log in, and this will let you, you can do it by radius, so it goes 200 yards from where you are. You can drop a pin, and it'll alert you anytime there's activity in that area. You can do it by neighborhood, you can do it by zip code, and you can do the alerts weekly or monthly. So then it'll just send it to your email address and let you know what's going on at certain properties. So that is the benefit to signing up, but you don't have to just see this information. In the menu, we also have a link straight to 311, so if you think something should be on the enforcement tab and it's not, you can submit it here as well. It'll take you to 311. There's tutorials, feedback, and all of that kinds of stuff in the menu there. Okay, so what kind of questions can Building Eye answer? I submitted a property to 311 and would like to know the status. When does my neighbor go to the magistrate for their building violations? I am a property owner and my contractor should have gotten a permit. Did they? The property had a building permit and the completed job looks so nice. Who's that contractor? Does the parking lot on the corner charging $25 for events have the appropriate license? Okay, so last is community resources. So I send out kind of a monthly newsletter. It's almost every month. And you can sign, if you've gotten the invite to this, you probably get the newsletter, but if you don't, you can sign up on our website. On the main page, again, you can click down here, the button Community Resources, and then Newsletter, just sign up right there. And this is to communicate all the updates. If we have a bulletin or a code interpretation, I'll send it out via the newsletter, monthly forum invites, those kinds of things just go out in the newsletter. So it is very informative, I think. So, and then of course the monthly forums here, the invites go out via the newsletter list, and It was the second Wednesday morning of every month, but we had to change it to Friday, so we're keeping that going on Fridays. We also record these, post the videos on YouTube, so if you missed it or you found some information useful, you can go back and watch the video. And we're definitely taking suggestions all the time on what kind of topics to have. So don't be afraid to send those in and tell us what you want to hear about. And we can repeat some forums if those are of interest to folks. I know the permitting process is always of interest to people. Okay, so we have all of these great things in place, but sometimes they don't work. So what to do when that happens? If it's related to a permit, we would ask that you call the supervisor first, see if they can solve the problem. And don't expect a call back in the next hour. Give them a little bit of time to call you back before calling the main line. But if the supervisor is non-responsive, you can definitely let me know. So I'm there, as a resource for the community to, help solve problems. If there's particular properties that just don't seem to be going anywhere, let me know. Or if you expected your certificate of occupancy a month ago and that hasn't happened yet, let me know. I can look into it, find out what's going on. So my email address is julianne.ryland, which is julianne.reiland@pittsburghpa.gov. Call me, it's 412-255-2811. All right, that's all. 2811. And I also have cards as well over here if you would like them. Any specific questions about the tools? I know there was some building eye alert questions that we'll have to solve afterwards, but anything that you've run into that didn't work as it should, or you might need more explanation on how to use it? All right, well, if there's no other questions, I won't keep you. But if you do have specific questions you think of later, like I said, don't be afraid to email me. So, all right, thanks.